Why yes, it is 2019 and I will be reviewing the 2002 manga of Chobits by Clamp, published by Tokyopop, which I don't think Tokyopop is actually around anymore. But let's go ahead and dive in, shall we? Hey friends, it's Katana Ash, formerly known as Game Raider, and I am saying that now just in case if you got this bell notification and you're just like, who's this? I don't remember subscribing to this person, but you might recognize my face. So let's hope that. I know it's been a while since I've posted any vlogs or anything, but I am trying out this new series of basically I'm just calling it Let's, because it'll be a series of let's review, let's try, and let's plays. So basically just have an all-encompassing thing of let's. Reviewing the manga Chobits by Clamp. This is my 8th volume, and I just finished reading it within like 2 days. So Chobits was the first manga that I had actually ever read. I actually read it in high school. There were these girls in my science class who had been reading manga, and I was already a big fan of anime, but I had no idea what manga was. And another thing that always that I found really useful in manga in itself was this page right here, because it was like, hey, so you're reading it wrong and you read it this way instead, which surprisingly enough I don't think it took me that long. It's very easy to pick up on, because obviously every time you go to the back it's like, no, you need to go over here. So since I haven't read this manga in 17 years, and wow, my age is showing, I had to reread it so that way I could review it for my audience. And it's not that that was a terrible thing to do. I love reading manga. I'm actually starting to pick manga back up, and while you're here, if you have any suggestions for manga that I should read, please feel free to tweet it to me, comment below, whatever you feel like doing. The series tells the story of Hideki Motosuwa, who finds an abandoned Persicom, also known as a personal computer with human form, which he names Chi, after the only word that Chi can initially speak. As the series progresses, they explore the mysteries of Chi's origin together and questions about the relationship between human beings and computers. It's a mix between comedy, romance, and sci-fi. So the art is cute, even in black and white, and everything is very soft and just adorable, which, really ties into how cute and adorable the main protagonist Chi is, the Persicom. While this manga is extremely adorable, I really do not suggest it for kids, mostly because there's a lot of mature scenarios. There's a lot of sexual undertones, and it's just definitely not something I would hand to a child. If somebody asked me, would you recommend this to someone under, I don't know, probably someone, I would not recommend it to anyone, probably under the age of 15. I apologize, I didn't look at this, but according to the rating here, this is older teen, so it has to be 16 plus for this manga, because of all of the like I said, sexual undertones, the mature scenarios, and things like that. I would definitely suggest this for teenagers, for young adults, for those young at heart, as, this manga, the manga is very beautiful for the eyes and the heart. There's a lot of talk about soulmates. There's a lot of beautiful, blossoming relationships. The soulmate thing, she talks a lot about finding the person just for her. There's a lot of talk about that. I think from, it's either book 1 or book 2 where she talks about it. So throughout the manga, we learn a little bit more about Chi every day. We see her grow, not really so much as a person. Well, we see her grow as a character, because since she's not really a person, she's more of a personal computer. You know, there's a lot of that. So there's kind of, you know, that line where it's like, I don't really know. So we find little clues about Chi's past, and we see possible connections to other characters. And another thing is we kind of see her act a little bit more human as opposed to any other personal computer. Now there are a few other ones that do act, they kind of seem to kind of act on their own. However, as you progress in the story, you'll just see that she just has this thing about her where it's just like she doesn't seem, the only takeaway, of course, for any Persicom are the ears. With Chi, you'll see here that she has these ears, and like, you know, while they, you know, she appears human, always gotta remember she's not, she's a Persicom. And we also venture with the other protagonist, Hideki Motosua, who is a virgin, and I say this because it's a running joke in the manga. And so we see him basically go through life, you know, work, going to cram school, and then also now having to balance Chi, who is a Persicom that knows nothing. She knows nothing, and it can be a little bit of a struggle for him, but he makes it work. That's right, you heard me. Chi knows nothing. The only thing that she can say is Chi. Granted, she knows how to, you know, she's able to move around, but she's basically a personal computer that doesn't even have an operating system in her, you know, basically in her hardware. And this is actually kind of interesting too, because, you know, Hideki, he's a country boy. He knows next to nothing about computers. Like, he doesn't even have a cell phone. While that whole thing with, you know, Chi being owned by someone who doesn't know anything about computers, it's very concerning for Hideki, because he doesn't know, you know, what happens if there are moments in the manga where Chi is sleeping, she's recovering from a very harsh kind of, you know, basically an emotional moment, and she just sleeps for hours and hours. You know, she'll pass out, it's the next morning, she's still not awake, and it's very concerning for Hideki, because he's just like, what if she doesn't ever wake up? I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do if she doesn't wake up. It's really a big deal for him, and I feel for that, because I mean, I'd react the same way if my PC just suddenly didn't turn on. Everything's plugged in, but I don't know what's happening. I'd start kind of panicking because my computer has everything. It's kind of not, yeah, it's my life. With this manga being made in 2002, there are some things that are quite outdated, because back then there were some things that, you know, weren't really common knowledge yet, probably, you know, not even made, I don't know. Well, I mean, a lot of this is sci-fi, so a lot of things haven't really been made, but that's, you know, that's a different subject entirely. But I would say overall, the manga aged pretty well. There's nothing that I could notice that would be very, you know, upsetting or something where it's just like, oh man, I can't read this manga anymore because it touches on, you know, so-and-so subject. I don't think it really delves that deep or anything like that. The only thing that I probably would note was maybe like, there's a lot of talk between, you know, persicoms and real people. They really touch on this subject of, you know, they basically touch on on a line, in a sense, that can be taken today, because there's that whole thing where it says, like, we live on our cell phones, we live on our computers, our whole lives are on our phones, on our computers, and basically there's just this whole thing about it. So it's like, where is that line, where in a lot of cases you hear stories within the story of that line being drawn, because, you know, with persicoms, like actual, like, persicoms, there's the women are beautiful, the men are also beautiful, you know, they're extremely useful, and some people just don't see any need for human interaction because they have their persicoms. The persicoms, they don't talk back, they don't have emotions and everything, so there's that line where it's like, it's just, real people can't compete with this because the persicoms are so perfect. So, you know, what's the point of that? I feel like there is a lot of character development in the story, especially with Chi, both Chi and Hideki, because, you know, Chi goes from knowing nothing and just being able to say Chi, and then suddenly she's able to do things on her own, and she's able to hold full conversations with people. So that's definitely something that it's definitely good character development, I would say, for anybody. He changes on his view of persicoms mostly is something is very, very there. Because at first he's just like, oh, persicoms, you know, personal computers, da-da, to really kind of, he kind of also just, you see him slowly kind of just change his view from just, this is a persicom, this computer, robot, blah blah blah, to, I think, you know, there's a little bit more to it than that. And it's definitely, I believe, like, the two you can see that strain on his relationship with Chi, especially because Chi doesn't act like a normal persicom. She acts completely different with her emotions, and, you know, saying things like, I'm hurting, and such things like that. That's not really something that you expect to hear from a robot, you know, from a computer. So it really kind of starts to change his way of thinking. So you also learn a lot about the characters such as Yumi, Shimbo, Minoru, Mishimizu, and especially Chitose Hibiya, the landlady. So that's definitely one you want to keep an eye out for there. There are many new characters that come out throughout the series that everybody kind of seems to have connection to one way or the other. You know, it's just kind of like there's just this whole tree of just like this person, that person, this person, that person, and so on and so forth. The dialogue really makes you stick with the story, you know, the love, the hurt, the pain. Those are kind of mutually exclusive. And there's just also a lot of tech talk. And also, don't forget the funny stuff. I almost forgot about the funny stuff. There's a lot of funny stuff in here too, I promise. The expressive art is definitely, it just keeps it kind of whole. Like just, you know, the expressions, you know, with the brows, with the smiles, with, you know, just moving around and stuff. I had to do that, I'm sorry. And I don't want to spoil anything for you, my dear viewers, so I will just say that it is definitely worth picking up. You know, you can probably see if your local library has it. Maybe there's even a bookstore that has it on the shelf. You know, kind of skim through volume 1. You know, with the republishing of mangas such as this, with, you know, Chobits, and I've noticed, I believe Fruits Basket has some, Cardcaptor Sakura has them, the omnibuses that are coming out. You know, you can definitely take a look at those. I know I've seen some omnibuses at some comic book stores and such, and you could definitely peek through on that. I would highly recommend it. Manga is a fun-filled adventure with 8 volumes, as you can see here, and 2 omnibuses. And I give this manga a 10 out of 10. Probably a little biased on that though, because this was the first manga I'd ever read. But you know, you really can't go wrong. It's got love, it's got comedy, and it's got sci-fi. So I mean, you can't really lose, basically. That is my review on Chobits by Clamp. And also published by, rest in peace, Tokyopop. That's all I gotta say on that subject, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye! So yeah, she knows nothing. She's basically a computer before you put an operating system in her. Wait. No. Wait, yes. Sort of. Okay, let's start that again. So she knows something, okay? Yes. Running joke. Jon Snow knows nothing. Okay.